I think someone put their foot in it. Let's begin. Well, it appears that GB News has temporarily, of course, silenced the ever so controversial Laurence Fox. And yes, okay, what he said might not have been the shining example of politeness, but folks, come on, this is apparently the wild world of freedom of expression we're living in. I mean, we're in the 21st century and we're all meant to fear all the woke brigade and be polite about everything, I'm guessing. You know, those polite little angels who never say anything remotely off colour. And obviously Laurence said who wants to shag that, which admittedly isn't very nice about a female journalist, but, you know, maybe, just maybe, he might think that's what they actually call journalistic critique. And let's not forget, of course, his eloquent description of her as a little woman, which no doubt, of course, made the Twitter mob rise up even more. And of course, you know, Ava Evans, the journalist in question, took to social media to share her shock and disgust and said Laurence Fox just did a speech on GB News on why men apparently won't shag me, which apparently now has over 2.1 million views, which has kind of gone viral, but you can understand that she is not happy about that. But at the end of the day, that's free speech, isn't it? And GB News has suspended Laurence and also Dan Wootton because of it. I mean, you know, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I heard once that GB News was presumably the self-proclaimed champion of free speech, and it seems to have had a sudden change of heart. Or maybe, who knows, they might just be really bad at handling a PR crisis. But it doesn't end there, because there's also apparently an epic Twitter exchange between Mr. Fox and the GB News staff member. A phone call would have been polite, he said, which I kind of agree with. In all seriousness though, while Laurence's comments may not have been the shining example of tact, let's not forget that free speech means defending someone's right to say things that people might not like. I just can't help but wonder that if it was the other way round and the roles were reversed, would there have been as much fuss made about it? But of course it doesn't end there either, because whilst Dan Wootton put out a tweet saying he's sorry for his smirk and he should have stepped in and things like that, Laurence actually got one up on him too, because he released the text messages of what they were saying after the show, and therefore Wootton is now suspended as well, which in my opinion, suspending either of them was going a little bit too far, especially as GB News is meant to be the home of free speech, or so I heard. And therefore, no matter how bad something was said, that is his opinion at the end of the day, wasn't it? But anyway, the article says that in a lengthy statement on X, on Tuesday, formerly Twitter that is, Fox wrote, "First of all, don't take a pop at Dan Wootton for something I said. That's not fair. Secondly, I stand by every word of what I said. If a woman wants to go on television and belittle male suicide, she is totally within her rights to do so and not apologise, just as I am totally within my rights to say that I wouldn't want to shag a hyper-offended, fourth-wave feminist and not apologise, just as people are totally within their rights to be offended by my stating that I would run a mile in the opposite direction from women like her, should our paths cross in a bar. It's what's called free speech. I realise that the new woke world is low on laughter and high on offence, but it's still worth trying to find lighter moments in this joyous new cancel culture which has been created for us." He concluded his statement by adding, "So if you are expecting a grovelling apology, I suggest you don't hold your breath. I will never apologise to the mob." Well, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to Clownworld YT for suggesting this next story. But brace yourselves for this next mind-boggling tale of Scottish ingenuity and innovation. I mean, picture this, the great minds of the Scottish Greens and SNP have hatched a plan so bold, so visionary, that it might, just might, revolutionise the way we think about motorways. Yes, that's right, you guessed it. They want to reduce the speed limit on Scotland's busiest motorway, the M8, to a dazzling, wait for it, 30 miles an hour. I mean, how silly is that? Because, you know, who actually needs to get anywhere quickly nowadays, eh? Let's take a moment to appreciate the genius or stupidity behind the idea. Motorways, you know, historically designed to efficiently move traffic from point A to point B, are going to be a thing of the past. In the brave new world of Scottish transportation, they will become scenic routes where you can leisurely count the flowers by the roadside. Imagine yourself cruising along at the stately 30 miles an hour, all while marvelling in the green walls they plan to construct to protect you from pollution. It's like a drive through a big garden, isn't it? With the added thrill knowing that you'll be fashionably late for every appointment. But of course we haven't got to the end of this stupid plan yet. It's apparently the long-term vision to transform the M8 into a boulevard-style road, I mean, you know what could be more charming than a Sunday leisurely stroll down a former busy motorway, eh? I mean, you could bring a picnic basket, enjoy the street performers, and wave at the cars crawling along at 30 miles an hour, just like a carnival, except without the fun or candy floss. But the grand finale is they're not going to relocate the M8. No. They're going to replace it with a slower road, because clearly what Glasgow needs is more congestion and slower traffic. It's like saying let's replace the internet with carrier pigeons, because they're more natural. But let's not forget about the deer tourists, shall we? I mean, picture them flocking to Glasgow, eager to explore the sights and sounds of this vibrant city. Little do they know they're in for a treat. Which is, of course, an epic traffic jam. Welcome to Glasgow. I mean, you can see it now, can't you? Where even our snails move faster than our cars. But, don't worry about that. For the SNP and Greens have the solution in store. Low emission zones and potential congestion charges. So, not only will you be inching along at 30 miles an hour, but you'll also have the privilege of paying for the pleasure. What a bargain, isn't it? Just don't forget to pack your patience and a good book for the ride, because let's face it, you're going to need lots of both. But anyway, the article says that public money is now being spent preparing an action plan so that these changes can be made to the motorway, starting with a potential reduction in the speed limit to 30 miles an hour. Tory group leader on the council, Thomas Kerr, has previously spoken out against these plans. He said that the M8 motorway is a key part of Glasgow and Scotland's road, which connects people and businesses in our country. Proposals to close the M8 and introduce a low emission zone on the M8 or to reduce the speed on the M8 to 30 miles an hour are not practical and would likely damage the city's economy and the jobs which people in our city rely on. Well, the winds of change are blowing, my friends, and they smell like savings apparently. Octopus Energy has expanded its fan club tariff to bless customers living near those majestic offshore wind farms, which, if anything, are quite an eyesore in my opinion. Which, hopefully finally we've got a reason to celebrate the relentless howling of the wind. Unless it's my wind, of course. My girlfriend doesn't really like when that goes off at all. But anyway, you see, the expansion is starting with these lucky folks living along the coastline from Grimsby to Skegness. The windy wonderland. These fan club members will now be able to get up to a staggering 50% off their energy bills. That is when their local offshore wind farm actually decides to kick in high gear. I mean, talk about turning a natural phenomenon into a discount opportunity. Let's just look a little bit deeper into this fan club, shall we? It apparently all started with an offshore wind turbines, but they decided that wasn't enough. Apparently they needed to bring in some breezy benefits to the coastal communities as well. It's like saying, hey, you're living by the ocean and that salty breeze isn't just for the seagulls anymore, it's for your savings, and hopefully mine too. I live quite near the sea, but unfortunately I am actually not within the area. And apparently Octopus Energy has been absolutely inundated with requests from over 20,000 local wind turbine enthusiasts. Admittedly, savings is good. It just makes me wonder how much these things cost to run. Because let's face it, they got to be put there in the first place, and I'm guessing they're not exactly cheap to set up either. Or the maintenance as well, maybe. Well, maybe, who knows, they could be trying to ease us in with discounts so they could spread more of these things around the country and then possibly hit us with the installation bill, which, to be honest, I wouldn't put past them. Although apparently this fan club has now gone global, expanding into the US and Germany. This is all kicking off in Lincolnshire with these postcodes. So you lucky guys can save some money on your electric bills. But at what cost remains to be seen. But anyway, the article says that the Lincolnshire offshore wind farm is located around 8 kilometres away from Skegness and generates enough clean power for 240,000 homes every year. And this year alone, apparently, homegrown offshore wind, along with the coastline of the country, has produced up to 14% of Britain's electricity, according to the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero. And also the tariff's expansion follows fast on the heels of Octopus's announcement to invest £15 billion in offshore wind globally, which sounds quite a lot of farts. And hopefully the discounts from this will spread to more areas soon, especially mine. Although what will probably spread sooner rather than later to every house is the thing in this video, which I'm guessing we'll probably all hate.